Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, and I'm joined today by Gene Decode. Now, Gene Decode and I, did a show probably about 3 weeks ago or so. Um, back in has like almost 400,000 views. It's like Gene, you're like people want to know what you know. So let's jump right into it. What do you want to start off with? I know we were kind of talking a little something about just before we started on. So what would you like to focus on in the beginning here?
I'm up to your lead, Michael. Anything you like.
Yeah, so there seems to be a delay in taking down this deep state. I don't know what that's all about. What do you think?
Yeah. So, on that, based on the video clip that was played from Gene Unleashed backstage level about the seriousness of this war,
Mhm.
like I said there, that was an introductory to a decode I did on some non-terrestrial situations that are involved here. And this war is not like World War I or II. This is a war for creation. This is a war for all of humanity everywhere. This is a war for the Milky Way, our solar system. It's a war for it all. This is the war, the beginning of the war between dark and light. If we do not prevail here, we're done. There's nowhere you're going to run and hide and stick your head in a hole in the ground. You can't. Their plans, plan B that they're on now, is to go in their dumps, take 500 million Chinese that they have realized through the history of humanity are the only group that don't rebel against slavery. Every other group does. So they will take them, go underground in their dumps. They still have enough left, although most in the US are cleaned out and the alliance is cleaning them out all over the place. The situation such they still have enough they could do that and eradicate all life on Earth and then proceed outwards through the galaxy once they're done and then on through creation. So this is as serious as it gets. And I understand that. And, and everybody needs to understand that we stand together back to back with our weapons pointed at the cabal and not each other. And we go and take it to the cabal and not each other. That's what they want. And then it's serious. You're not going to run and hide. So if you're going to join the other team or whatever, you're not of them. I guarantee, even if you think you are, you're not. Even if you're non-terrestrial and you think you're up there, you're not. You're a tool, and the upper above you is going to take you out when they're done. Just like the Native American trackers that tracked down other tribes, and then they took them out when they didn't need them. And then same for those elite supposedly thought they were elite, they got taken out too. So that's the way the cabal works, all the way up the chain to the very top. You're just food when they're done with you. They
Right.
don't need you, then you're done. So that being said, however, I do know that there's a flag officer situation in which they're debating when and where and how. And so I would suggest that that debate needs to come to a realization that in a war between dark and light that we're involved in, that has a 5D chess game where you have moves and counter moves. And at the point we're at now, there's 1,000 variables and 1,000 different scenarios and 1,000 different playouts from every scenario that a super genius, stable genius like Trump could hold 500 of those 1,000 in his mind, or some trained combat veteran like Michael could, hold 500 in battle in his mind. A
Mhm.
quantum computer could hold 750, but only God can hold all 1,000 variables. So at some point, you've got to make a decision, and you've got to come to a decision and realize that you proceed, you do your prayers, and you put it in God's hands and you proceed, and we'll have the Red Sea moment, and we'll go out into the Red Sea, and we'll see the Pharaoh's troops coming after us, and we get out and it'll close over them. You've got to trust in God and you got to move forward. You cannot wait till 2024, and I would suggest you cannot wait till 2022.
No.
It's got to happen, because if you do, and the cabal moves with their mass, beyond mass to vaccination mandate, and they start doing things that do, Second Amendment and all of that,
Mhm.
gone. The American people that voted for Trump, a good 50% of them are, armed and ready, and will, if the military is not going to do anything, if they don't see it at a certain point, they're going to say, okay, fine. If you're not, we will. So it cannot be allowed to wait too long. I'm just saying, you know, I don't have the flow from other than down to me, and I don't have the privy of the details, but I've been told that there are certain situations or disagreements or exactly how and when and where and precisely what to do. You gotta at certain point in a martial arts conflict, you know, I've been in fights and been in all that and hand-to-hand combat and all that stuff. And I watch my enemy come in and learn his moves over and over. He comes in and I inflict some injury. I do some damage each time he comes in, and I watch all of his techniques and I learn. But at a certain point, you got to go. He's going to keep coming and coming and coming and coming. He's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Yes, but at a certain point, you got to take it to him and take him out. That's it. And we're pretty much near that point right now. So there's going to come a point where if you go past that, he's going to go get buddies. He's going to come back with some buddies. So we can't allow that. So it's a choice has got to be made. And then all you can do is pray, leave it the rest in God's hands, those other 250 variables, and Godspeed. So you have my prayers, and I, you know, all those who are devout and know there's only one God of all creation, and accept Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior, and all those who have made oaths to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We understand that casualties will happen, and life, limb, and property, etc., and we accept it. And so it has to happen. At some point, it has to happen. So I'm saying Godspeed and make a choice, and let's move.
Both of us, you know, having military backgrounds, we know how to be patient because we know that things change. I was in the Panama invasion. I was there many months before we actually did the invasion, and you know, we had Noriega, like, you know, taunting the U.S. I'm like, why don't we come in and spank this guy right now? But there were things that were, you know, going on. Situations were in motion, trying to line things just perfectly. Because I was there, SEAL Team 6 and Delta and all of us, we started to see things that were being manipulated. And, you know, I've had some other guests on that kind of have talked about these manipulations, even like you're talking about, even within our own communities, you know. So we're trying to get, you know, 1 stars and 2 stars and 3 stars all on board with what needs to go down. Sometimes they're not all on board. And there's other agencies that are involved, CIA, you know, go on and on and on, all these different intel agencies that are pulling strings and manipulating. But once we finally decide we are going to do it, and I'm talking about the special forces guys on the ground, then it happens. I was also involved with hunting down Noriega, and it was the same situation. We were waiting for the exact right. I mean, we were ready to go on a dime. We're waiting for that call to go. And there were certain situations, political and so forth, that were restricting that until the last moment. And sometimes that's the way it is. So how do you see things going forward? Are we going to be, you know, strung along like it seems like we've been for a while, or like you're saying, are the American, you know, people, veterans like ourselves and so forth, are going to go, enough's enough. We're going to take care of this if you guys aren't.
Yeah, that will eventually happen. That's why I'm telling the military, the flag officers, et cetera, 2, 3, 4, whatever stars.
Right.
You need to, you know, decide at some point at what point it is, and then make a move and leave the rest in God's hands. Because this is, when it comes down to it, God's plan. The plan, understand the plan, the binders, the many, many ring binders, and all of that started with Tesla, Van de Graaff, and the Trump brothers, and Howard Hughes in 1903, the 3-inch binder at that time that's grown. That at some point now, that, you know, you can't compensate for absolutely every possible variance. At some point, you got to put it in God's hands. This is God's plan, not your plan. So let's, you know, that has a decision, and then tell the ground troops that are waiting, like Michael said, that are on the dime, they're ready to move. Give them the word, and they understand what's got to be done, and it will be done. And the cabal will come down. They're so severely destroyed now and so severely handicapped. I mean, weather manipulation by spraying nylon, Teflon, and other ingredients in the air off the coastline. That's what they're reduced to. No HARP, no high energy weapons, all of this. I mean, you've got the majority of stuff. At a certain point, you got to go in there and take the enemy down. So I'm thinking we're nearing that point, and I would ask and be in prayer, and we understand that, there will be casualties. That's the way it works. We understand. And it's you can't take thousands of years out ball out without casualties and without something. And also the casualties, I understand, you're trying to minimize them to the absolute, and I totally agree. But also, and I understand because, for me, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I know what happens when I lose my mortal coil. I know where I go. I know what happens. And those of us in the military that took the oath and know that, same thing. And those that are on the ground that are civilians know that same thing. So the pain has to be there so it never happens again too. There has to be lice. Otherwise, you end up with a vacuum. A power vacuum, if there's not any loss and not any tribulation and not any pain at all, there will always be people who are willing to do what it requires, the ends justifies the means type, who will fill that vacuum again. And so the human race has got to be taken to the point whereby, and it's unfortunate it got to this point because the human race let it get to this point, but it has to be some pain and suffering, because otherwise there's not going to be never again will we let this happen. It was so horrific what we went through that, we're never going to let those ends justifies the means people get in power in charge of anything again. We're going to test and be careful and keep our hand in the baking of every cake from now on. And we're not going to sit there and turn a blind eye and just go about our daily affairs and nothing affects me. And I don't have to be responsible because the government takes care of me. My doctor takes care of me. My car mechanic. I don't need to know about a car. I don't need to know about my health. I don't need to know about my body. That's not my responsibility. Yes, it is your responsibility. You need to know a basic level of knowledge, and we need to not let this happen again. We need to keep ourselves informed and learn and keep and do principles and teach our children principles and basic knowledge on everything you need to live on a daily basis from now on. And so that being said, let's go ahead and do what's got to be done.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, you've talked about in detail for many, many months, and I found your work absolutely fascinating about the D.u.m.b.s, and you probably revealed more about the D.u.m.b.s than anyone else, all the D.u.m.b.s all over the world. I feel like you that the D.u.m.b.s situation is pretty close to being completely under control here in the U.S. What do you see going forward, and is that maybe part of the reason why we're in a holding pattern right now?
Yeah, they're finishing up DC situation, and we've seen more than one video of at early hours of little people, shorter people, not full grown yet, coming out. And so we see the relaxation, but a permanent contingent being stated that will be around the Capitol and the barbed wire, some of it coming down. But again, the handles are not on the inside. And so it looks to me like it'll be a permanent kind of Gitmo kind of thing. We see the code of the POWMIDA flag flying for quite a long time over the Capitol, meaning they're prisoners of war. And the presidency is missing in action. It's down in Florida. The real presidency of the Republic. We know the comms. And so, that's pretty much, they can't go in mainstream and announce it yet. Otherwise, you're going to have the rats in every other capital on every other country on earth, moving all of their assets and their toys for them, the children, etc., to other locations and filling those with cement. And we don't want the rats to run. We want to take the rats and their toys and save the toys and heal the toys and all the other stuff they have there, and then clean up the mess permanent. So, that get this job done. But, when you reveal it, that has to be timed. I understand that as well. So, this is in every country on earth, every capital, everywhere on earth, you have the same exact situation. So just like Simon Park said, and I totally agree, and Juan Savana said that it's filthy what's gone on, and it's everywhere in every country. And so, and some brilliant people are taking a lot of my data and information and looking at the earthquakes. I had a man in Greece, several of them, that sent me a map and got it perfectly right using the 10-kilometer earthquakes, 3, 5s, and 10s with no P waves, only the secondary waves, no surface waves, no deep waves that you should see, and got the Vatican D.u.m.b.s map perfect. So that, hats off to them. And it's amazing. I can actually share that if you want, Michael. And they are continuing to take out D.u.m.b.s. Also, there was a situation in which the cabal changed the rules. They used to go into the D.u.m.b.s and get people to surrender, and they would take them out. And in one situation, I can't go into the precise details due to OPSEC, but 200 special forces died because they went in to take out a group that surrendered, and they triggered a trap that was set. And then the things and individuals and people surrendering had incendiaries, like the old days with when the term came about, where they would have ships that were flying a pirate's flag, but were, and then they would change that to some other country, and that's not really what they were. And if they lost the battle, they would, burn their ship down with incendiaries in the hull. So they had incendiaries in the bodies, and I got letters coming in from parents that had asked to get prayers for the remaining children that are grieving for special forces members, that 200 that were killed in this situation. And so now the rules of engagement. So they took out Iceland. There was like a period of over 2 weeks where there was not 5 minutes where it wasn't shaking, and they couldn't even hardly get sleep. And so then once they took that out, it was in retribution for the cabal not upholding and being reasonable. So now if they go to a D.u.m.b.s, you come 100 miles out of the D.u.m.b.s or miles down the maglev and surrender, and we'll send robotic situations in and see if you're laced. And then if you are, we'll just take that out too. And then the D.u.m.b., you don't get to surrender. We go in and that's it. Whatever's in there is in there, and it's not being surrendered. We rescue the innocents in there, and we take the rest out, and we send robotics in the first place to make sure even you haven't laced the innocents too. So unfortunately, it has to go that way. So they, now they've taken that one in Iceland out, and they're flooding it with lava now. Can, use the forces of nature like they did with the Potomac in DC. So you use lava or the ocean, like in Greece. This one in Greece that's part of the Jerusalem D.u.m.b., the ocean levels dropped 12 inches. And then he said, like, where did the water go? And then now they have saltwater springs in the middle of Greece. So, yeah, pretty interesting, pretty good verification of what's going on. So continuing on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've seen a lot of stuff that you talk about. I look at it, oh, good. Thanks for sharing that. So I've seen a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. I see it from my view, and, having you confirm a lot of the stuff that I have been thinking that is going on is fantastic. So I believe a lot of people watch this stuff now from a different point of view, instead of like, oh, there's earthquakes there. It's not, no, those aren't normal earthquakes. So I'm starting to see, though, even the earthquakes that are like above the surface, like you've been talking about. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. So to show that map went from Rome to Jerusalem, and now I'll go to the USGS site. And if you go to the Raspberry Shake site, you can see the earthquakes, what the P wave and S wave situation is. And so here's the USGS site. Here's what I was talking about in Iceland. Right. So this is the last week, and depth, all of this area is a dump. So if I go here and I change my setting to 30 days, isn't that interesting?
That's a big boom. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, if this was natural, why would we see 10, 10, 10, 10, every single one?
Yep.
And then if we go back and look, like I said, at that area, the map that the gentleman did that was brilliant.
And I've flown through Reykjavik before, and I felt, yeah, this is definitely a dumb city here, and underneath there. So that's interesting to see that happening.
Yeah. So look at this one. That's the one where he put the 2 points on the map. However, I mean, the majority, you have a few shallow ones where the tunnel comes up because they're taking this out because this was to come up to go into the Middle East and throughout all of Italy and Europe with, you know, bringing gold in and children and etc. So you're going to have some. And then the map, if you remember, went down through there. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So just really, really interesting, you know. So there's also, if you look in other areas, like if we go over to the Golden Triangle, for example, Turkey on the way. Let's go over there on the way and look at what we see.
Yep.
It's just really, really, really interesting. So let's go on down. Iran.
Yep.
I mean, okay, I'll agree. This one's could be natural. Probably is. That's deep. So, okay. However, Egypt. Congo. Gabon. Tanzania. This is a lot of coincidence. Congo. I'm just saying it's really, really like tugging at incredulity that this is the Golden Triangle.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely some problems there.
Yep. So I'm just saying, you know, from my point of view, this is not natural. And if you go to Raspberry Shake and look at those same locations, not that one, sorry, that one. Okay, you'll see a lack of P waves every single time too. Just an amazing coincidence.
That's fabulous. Excellent work. So, you know, the DUMBs are being taken out. As far as Antarctica, what do you see going on down there?
Yeah, actually, even down there, what you do before you take out an enemy, if you don't want them to get out, is you take out all of their pathways out first before you take out their base. So in Nam, you would take out all the tunnels coming in, so they can't run, so you don't have to fight them over again. And they come up behind you go through a tunnel, come up behind you.
Yep.
So what you got to do is you got to take out everything going down and surround the area. So let's look at Antarctica.
Oh yeah, that's the final. That's a final one.
So here we go. Antarctica, South Shetland Islands. There's a DUM there. People remember my DUM decode.
Yep.
There it is. Same depth again. Interesting. And you have maglevs that run on the continental shelf boundaries and the tectonic plate boundaries. That's how they build them. And so on this side of the boundary, this way, this is the down one going down to Antarctica. This is coming back. And so you would expect, if you saw an earthquake on a plate boundary, for it to be at a variable depth and deep, wouldn't you? I'm just saying it would seem like that would be logically where you would expect it to be.
10 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 10 kilometers. Wow.
Yeah. So what is the probability that you're going to see this every single time?
Wow.
And here you go. Here's a station to go up to Australia. We got both sides of the train.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's indisputable. Look at it. It's like, it just doesn't happen naturally like that. No way.
Yep.
That's incredible.
That's a maglev tunnel site where all of the lines come together to go into, I think it's Christchurch.
Down, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Christchurch is a deeper dump that
Mm-hmm.
goes to Christchurch. Coming through, it's going deep here to go underneath the volcanism that's in this area.
Right. Okay.
But you do have the submarine system coming in normal here because you're out past the volcanism right there. So,
Incredible.
yeah, just, here, this is natural. This is what you expect. If you look at this, you'll see P waves and X waves.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And so, if you go to things around Antarctica, you're seeing them take out the maglevs and stuff around Antarctica.
Wow.
So they're isolating it,
Yeah. Okay.
surrounding your enemy and cutting off their means of escape or their ways of coming up behind you.
Wow. That's incredible. So, I mean, you can't dispute that now. So, I mean, you've been talking about it for a long time, and then you can like show that on that level and talking on the level that, it's like, there you go, guys. So it's cool because as a remote viewer, I can feel things coming and I can look at things coming, but you're deciphering it on an excellent level where it's like, you have the evidence for it. And that's what I love about your work, because you've done such great intel work and so forth. I think that as we go forward, we'll see some of these guys start to be revealed as far as like, being involved in this. Biden, obviously, I believe is gone. He's been gone for a long time. They've been showing, I just heard David Rodriguez talking today, and I guess a lot of people have seen where Biden was getting ready to get on, either it was Air Force One or Marine One, and he was talking in front of a microphone and moving his hands, and his hands were like morphing through the microphone. So, the CGI effects are really being revealed now. What do you think? Yep.
Yeah. And then the actor is really good too, because there was an interview on the media mainstream, and he couldn't figure out how to get out of the room. It reminded me of Clouseau, walk in the closet, go, I knew that.
Unbelievable. So, yeah, they're giving us some really nice clues on purpose. I believe that, a lot of people have gone. The royal family, the Vatican, a lot of people in the Vatican are gone. It just remains to be seen, when that's really going to be exposed at this point.
Exactly. And then the other thing I look for that's really interesting on the USGS site is to look where you see 0 or negative numbers over areas that are not quarries or volcanic or geysers. So, for example, in Valdez, Alaska, 0. Valdez, I've been there. That's not a quarry or a volcanic or a geyser area, and you have 0 depth.
Whoa.
This is at 0. So just really interesting that you have that. And then, so I scroll down and I look for, that's obviously Hanapopo. That's a volcano. Of course, you're going to see air blasts, what I call an airquake. But periodically, and oh, by the way, they're also taking out this one, you may know from your Special Forces days, submarine facility going up into Kamchatka to go to Petropavlovsk and out into Russia. So that was coming down. And of course, interestingly enough, again, you have some deep ones, but you do have, to go deep under the whole ocean. But majority of things, again, are all at 10. And then I look for negative numbers. So you can see sometimes either 0 or negative numbers where you don't have quarries like this one, of course, 0.1, that's geyser activity. But this, that's kind of obvious. And then, but if you look where you see a 0 value, you just page through and you can find, so let me do a reset here and go, because I'm back down to a lower value here. Let's go up in the time frame here.
Yeah, when I was a hard hat diver before I became a Navy SEAL, we were up in the end of the Aleutian Island chain right there, and laying, it's declassified now, but laying submarine cable to basically listen for their subs going through that area.
Yeah, so there's that zero that I was saying, 0 kilometers. It doesn't show down there, but it does show up there. So that's what I was looking for. And additionally, you will see some negative values periodically if you keep your eye on the USGS site that aren't over volcanoes or geysers or etc. So that when you see those zero negative numbers, that is actually where they're taking out stealth ships that are trying to get out of the facilities. And
Wow.
the Alliance controls all the satellite systems now, like
Mhm.
we saw on the 8th prime numbers board back in 2017, where they took out the Big Bird, took over Big Bird, Snowflake, and Corona systems.
Mm. Now, some people have asked me to ask you about the under. Well, you're already pointing them out. Some of these underwater entrance points where the subs, come in and out and stuff like that, and how those are being, taken out as well. Now, I have memories in the secret space program that we have used some of these. So not all of them, I think, are negative. What are your thoughts on some of those?
Yes, so like this area,
Yep, exactly.
also Alpha Point Magoo, there's Point Lopez.
Yep.
There's some submarine tunnel entrances there as well. And
Going all
the
the way into Nevada. Yeah.
Yep. So you have several, and now that people know what to look for, they can go and look at the D.u.m.b. codes I did 2 years ago, and watch now the amazing coincidences of earthquakes at those depths with that, like the 8th prime says, past, future proofs past. So look at the D.u.m.b. codes that I put out in the last 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and now you can see amazing coincidence with the earthquakes and various locations, as well as where I said there were submarine facilities and things where they come up and go underneath the entire U.S.
Fascinating. So there's people talking about the Beirut one. I talked about that in detail and I had that taken down. So we won't go too much in detail about the Beirut one, but we're seeing the stuff on the surface. People are seeing that some of these DUMBs are being taken down right in front of our eyes, and the entrances to some of these DUMBs. Obviously in Beirut, massive human trafficking ring that was going on there. What are your thoughts a little bit on the Beirut thing? Don't go too much in detail because
Yeah, that was just human trafficking primarily,
right.
but there were also some nuclear delivery and nuclear warhead type things stored there that had to be removed.
Interesting. Okay, and that totally makes sense. Of course, that wasn't a nuclear blast that went off, but it was that whatever weapon they used there was pretty high speed.
Yeah, from what I was told, that's what you saw take out the Oklahoma building.
Ah,
That was a bathythermographic.
okay, that makes sense.
So to look for that on the P wave, S wave, what you want to look for is two waves, a small one first, and then the big one. And both of them shallow. So the small wave is the detonating to blow the gas, the active ingredient from oxyacetylene welding out into like in the case of the building in Oklahoma, to fill up the bathroom next to the nursery. And then you have a spark plug or some other sparking device that sparks it and ignites the entire room as a bomb. And so it blows. That bomb was centered on the 10th floor. If you look at the blast pattern, you'll see he obviously didn't drive a truck up to the 10th floor. Nobody drives a truck up to the 10th floor. The blast is centered at the 10th floor. In that case, if you use differential equations and take the size from the blueprints of the building of that bathroom and figure out the spread time for a gas, you'll get 8 seconds. So if you look at the earthquake registry history for that date, you'll see that there was a small blast followed by the big blast of the building 8 seconds apart. And if you look at the experts for this in the C_A at that time on bathythermographic bombs, one of the two experts, the top experts in the world, died at the elevator on the 10th floor that day. So that's what they do, is they take out the people that set the stuff so they don't have any witnesses or people to tell what really happened. And just like if you go into the Waco situation, the 4 men that were killed in the room, I have video footage actually showing the 5th Special Forces guy machine gunning the 4 in the room with his AK-47, taking them out because they were involved in another op. So you've got all 4 of those individuals, if you follow their history back, were involved with the situation with the Clintons, Hillary specifically. So they're taking out. And so again, if you work for the cabal, I would suggest to you that look at history. Yeah. What do they do when they don't want you and you're you're a tool or a commodity or a liability? Just like SEAL Team 6 in the supposed Osama bin Laden situation. What happened to them? They're now a liability. And so they're taken out. And they're not going to allow them to tell that that wasn't really him there. So even if they're not working for the cabal will take out people that'll say, well, that really wasn't what was going on down there. So that's why we're doing what we're doing now.
Excellent. Excellent. So I see a lot of stuff happening underneath America, like you're talking about, not just negative stuff, but also some positive stuff. They're actually taking those D.u.m.b.s. Some of them, they're not destroying all of them. They're taking some of those over again. Now, do you see a possibility? A lot of people are talking about it. We're going into basically global cooling, where the sun is starting to shut down. Do you see the possibility of increased, where we're seeing it really, increased earthquake and volcanic activity, maybe to the point where we might have to shelter people underground? That we have.
Well, they have set some of them aside, of course, for eventualities, and some of them are so vast you can't take them out. Like the one under Denver, which is 8 cities underneath Denver that get bigger than Denver. You're not going to take that out, or you collapse the entire Front Range, and DIA and all of that. And it goes from DIA to Cheyenne Mountain, and that's NORAD. So you can't just willy-nilly just take everything out. You do have to do a reserves of certain things for safety, as well as in such eventualities as that. And of course, all of the global climate, the primary driver for global climate is the sun. And the primary driver for the sun's energy is the central sun of the Milky Way, which is in a black hole, but the energy stretches across the Milky Way in a field. It's an infrared giant star that's in that black hole. So which you can get by the phi proportion, comparing all the mass energy structure of the Milky Way on the phi proportion. Same with our solar system. If you do all of the planets and asteroids, by the phi proportion, you'll get multiplying by the phi proportion, you'll get the mass energy structure of the sun. So that then applies to the central sun. And so that energy structure, the cabal calls it the photonic, I call it the photon belt. They call it the Masonic ring. As we approach that, the energy structure of energy coming into the sun that powers it is changing. And so you go through minimums and maximums, as any wave has a sinusoidal situation where you have highs and lows. So we're heading into a low, and then we'll go back into a high. And then there will be a certain point where you go into the main field. And that main field is 3 days thick. And then that'll cause a massive collapse of the sun's system. It'll collapse its electromagnetic structure that's holding its corona in place. So the corona will collapse to the center. It'll be like a relaxation oscillator. Then once you remove the suppression field, then the energy structure, while it's being held, is jumping octaves. Then when you release it, then it blows the energy outwards again. So that's the current situation we're seeing there.
So other things that I see, and some people have talked about, is the Denver airport, maybe Arizona, underneath Texas, also out in Florida. when they come out with the med beds, there'll be places where people can fly in and utilize the med beds. I'm seeing that possibly Denver is going to be one of those major hubs, and they might even be setting it up now. What are your thoughts on that?
Now, Denver is possible because of the geopolitical situation of what to do and where to put the capital.
Mm,
Certainly not DC.
right.
That is a possible option, and that was planned for long ago as well.
Mhm.
And so, in that situation, plus you have NORAD close by. Of course, for the med beds, you have to realize as those come out, they're going to have the millions and millions of people will be flooding wanting that. So that's going to be and it's going to be stormed. So you can't have 4 million people waiting for 5 beds. So you're going to have to do a situation where, from my understanding and my logical mind, a military mind, a martial arts mind, is that you do secretive locations that people sign up for, and then they are taken to those locations not knowing exactly where they are. They get the treatments and they leave, and they don't even know where they are, because otherwise you have millions of people storming facilities with 5 beds or 10 beds or whatever, because there's so many situations. And then depending on what you're dealing with, if you're dealing with something like COVID or some other virus or something, you're talking a few minutes treatment. If you're dealing with a limb that's gone, you're talking maybe a day or two. So it depends on the severity and the amount of time. And again, of course, you're going to have the list and all of that, and they're going to go through and vet people of who's on the list, what is the situation, what is the time, where's the nearest location.
Mm-hmm. So Denver, that's interesting that you would say that, because I know that Denver has a lot of CIA there, probably as much, if not more, CIA buildings than are actually in DC. And I totally see all that stuff being taken over. I see CIA being dissolved, FBI being dissolved, and reestablished probably around the country, like you're talking about. DC is, as we know it, is pretty much going to cease to exist. Maybe turned into just museums and places like that. But as far as like where we hold our political future, I think it's going to be moved. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would think that turn it into a wildlife bird sanctuary for wet birds.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
turn it back into the swamp it used to be. Absolutely.
maybe you could have a prison in the middle of the swamp.
That would be nice. And maybe that's what is intended by that all the fencing that's going up around there. So that could happen.
The only way out is a helicopter, air travel in and out.
Yeah, just like in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah.
There. So yeah, that's definitely a great idea. I think that as we move forward, we're going to see so many different changes, so many different things move. We're going to be stunned.
Yes, indeed. I totally concur.
And some of that is going to be with the medical establishment, of course, because it's not pretty, but pretty much, well, completely corrupted, I believe. And we're seeing in Italy and other European countries where they're basically saying no more to that jab in the arm. They're shutting down a lot of those I think they took over like over 500,000 AstraZeneca injections or whatever. So they're definitely putting that stuff on the kibosh. Here in America, we I guess the Biden administration just ordered a whole bunch more AstraZeneca, whereas the rest of Europe is basically shutting it down. So what is going on here in America with that jab?
Yeah, that's a complicated situation. I would refer people to the Bible and what God had Moses do when he went into the Holy Land. and then also to the eighth prime book of the Bible, like 107 minus 0. The amount of time that Trump was late to go to CPAC, 1 hour and 7 minutes. Take out the 0, that book of the Bible. And he started at 4:50. That was interesting. Take off the 0.
No.
A lot of comms. So, I will give the comms. So
Exactly.
think about the virus and think about what I said initially at the beginning of the show, and then think about the med beds, that what they can do. And so put that all together.
Yeah, we've had Trump, I guess supposedly he and Melania got the jab, and he was on Maria Bartiromo, I guess last night on her business show, and recommending that everyone get that jab. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, I'm not going to.
No.
Although I do have the protocols, like the a humble pie kind of guy that wrote a book that has some amazing eminent kind of candies that melt in your mouth and not in your hands.
Exactly.
And that'll deal with the majority of any kind of negative situation, along with a mud mix that I talk about that has diatomaceous earth, zeolite, activated charcoal, and clay. That'll help a lot. And then, of course, the med situation. So if, for me, I don't want to deal with things as a trying to do damage control. I prefer not to do the damage in the first place. So unless, you're in a mandatory situation, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna share the screen real quick and get your thoughts on this one borax and boron mineral. I've used this before. I've taken baths with this. It says that it's the only known nanobot replication inhibitor. They're talking about taking it orally. I've never seen it taken orally, but that's interesting.
I've done that. I've done it.
Yeah, you're pretty well versed in a lot of this stuff, so I thought it might be interesting.
Yeah, there's another one. If you do a soak, is you do a very small pinch of a like detergent, like laundry soap, and go to the pet store and get alfalfa pellets for hamsters, and put a cup of those in the bathtub in the hottest water you can get in, and then put say about a half milliliter of detergent, and then soak in that. And the nanotech prefers the hamster pellets over you because it's more vibrant and more alive.
Wow.
And if you have a black light, you can actually see it going on. You can see them streaming out of your body into the hamster pellets.
Oh my God.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing. So if you have topical issues or near skin, first 2-3 inches of tissue below the skin, they'll stream out and soak in that. And then all you have to do is get out and take a regular shower with something like, I prefer Dr. Bonner's peppermint because it's a universal antidote, the peppermint, and get that off. And then put on some good thick gloves and wash the bathtub down and wipe it down with a paper towel. Make sure you get all of that out of there. And then, you can wipe it down with some, a little bit of diatomaceous earth, zeolite, and activated charcoal, and then wash it down again. And that's all gone. And so that's a really powerful way to deal with that.
That's fascinating. And I think a lot of people are writing that down as fast as they can. Of course, this will be on this site. A lot of you guys can get this again and, write it down.
Also, the team that works my Gmail, the medical coordinator will send the Magellan's protocol that's in there. So they can contact my Gmail if they'd like and just ask for that. A protocol also have several other protocols within that for Magellan's as well that are very powerful.
Outstanding. And we want to share that real quick.
Sure. So my Gmail for the military people is Charlie Oscar Lima Oscar Sierra Echo November Sierra Echo India 64@gmail.com. For civilians, that would be COLOSENSEI 64@gmail.com. That's Colo Sensei like teacher in martial arts 64 at gmail.com.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's beautiful. You're sharing that. Thanks so much. Where else would you like to focus? I know we've talked, secret space program a lot. We in the past. Where do you think things are going? No longer is it secret. I'm doing a show in Las Vegas this weekend where it's 5D event where we're basically revealing a lot of stuff. What do you see going forward as far as like, what the space program is going to do?
Yeah, of course, Space Force was soft disclosure. And, with James Rink and you and the things I've already done, it's for it to be secret to people, you got to have your head in the ground.
Right.
If you've traveled the world and you've seen statues and stuff all over the world and cave drawings, it's just, wow, you've had your head in a box and you've never left home. So, and you haven't watched much of anything, but it's one of the easiest things to prove that there's been non-terrestrials here since the get-go. I mean, time beyond, as long as we've been here, they've been here. And they've been putting their hand in the pie, so to speak, the negatives ones primarily. And now we're getting positive help because we've obtained a certain level, which is spacefaring ability and standing up for ourselves and coming together to stand up against the negative types. And so now we are getting assistance. That being said, it's kind of obvious if you watched again the 16+1 boards back in 2017 and over the area I live in, and I grew up in the Colorado area, every single night for 3 months when they were that was being posted on the boards about Corona and Big Bird and all of that. At the very exact same time, we had thunderstorms with no rain, no hail, no snow, and lightning constantly, but no thunder. That's how nature works where I'm from. I grew up here. We didn't have that ever. So obviously that's what's called rail cannons and other type of plasma and energy weapons going on. And that was every night. It would be sunny all day long. As soon as the sun starts going, it clouds up. I was like, and interestingly enough, the shapes of the clouds are kind of saucer or cigar shapes. I'll just say sometimes triangles, sometimes triangles. It was interesting. So, it's not very secretive anymore.
No doubt. Yeah. And I used to spend a lot of time up in Mount Shasta, and there's always craft up there. Very, very, very amazing. I've seen dragons as well. So what are your thoughts on dragons in the secret space program and maybe here on Earth? Of course, we see a lot of negative stuff on dragons, but I
good ones too. A lot of negative. You got the alpha types and the omicrons.
Mm-hmm.
But the gammas are really helping the situation. The omicrons and that are mostly the red dragon group. And then, of course, the alphas are the African, the Antarctican, and that kind of contingent everywhere else. But the gamma draconians and that are here to clean up and take out that situation. So that's ongoing and continuing.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. I could just press some areas that most people would be like, what? And you're like, oh yeah, this. Like it. They're like fun.
It's fun, yeah. It's interesting to talk and just go, down the holes, as they say.
Exactly. Our solar system, I think, is pretty much, we have life on all of the planets, inside all the planets. We have, bases on other solar systems that we travel to. What do you see going forward as far as joining with
people are going to be amazed with where life is.
Okay.
They're more easy to say, where is life not?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is nowhere, because for me, there's one God of all creation, is the living God. The living God doesn't do death. Their death cult does death, of the fake cabal God, but the living God does only living. So there is nowhere you can point to a planet or star or whatever. You're going to say no life there. Nope, sorry, not true. Everywhere, life everywhere. in a plethora and in a variety that defies the imagination to come up, because we don't have the imagination, the infinite. So the infinite creator creates life beyond, in a complexity and a diversity and a beauty. I mean, a beauty, even for the negative groups. There are now defections in the primes of the alphas.
Oh yeah.
Because I did a decode. Two of them defected just recently because I did a decode and I showed what they used to look like before they were in the cabal, how beautiful and incredible of a species they were. And they go, and they remote viewed the past because that was kept from them. And they go, wow, that's true. Gene is telling the truth, and we're not playing this anymore. We want back what was taken from us. So, that's true for all of the groups. And so I would say to all of the groups, go back and look at where you came from before you joined the cabal, and they contaminated you and brought you down into darkness and essentially servitude, and made you minimal, because they're not going to have you be a threat. So they're going to reduce you. And that's what has been done across the board. And so, you look out across creation, those in service to creator are immense and in a variety beyond comprehension.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of us, Eugene, Wano Sabin, myself, and other people are telling people to start to get that connection to source, and that source will give you the comfort and intuitive info that you need to go forward. I think that more and more people are awakening to that, but there's still a contingent of people, unfortunately, that are resisting and actually attacking a lot of us that are, trying to help them awaken. What do you see for that going forward, as far as how many people are going to awaken and how many people are not going to make it in this massive shift coming up?
Yeah, I'm thinking that, like for the D.u.m.b.s situation, 2 years ago when I did the first decode, I got so many attacks that, I'm totally psychotic, they were saying. But now the majority of Anons it's pretty much accepted as knowledgeable, and it's starting to get out into where I think 20% of the main people of the world know that exists, and that there's stuff going on and things with children going on there. And so I do think, and I do remember 30 years ago when I would talk to people about stuff, even a family that runs the world that is worth quadrillions, if not quintillions of dollars. And they said, I'm totally out of my mind. There's no new world order, whatever you're saying, you've lost your mind. That is impossible. Do you know how much money that would be? And I go, yeah, I know exactly how much money that is. 430 trillion for the gophers. And then we're in the quints for the pacers and those kind of types. So, now that's common knowledge. But 30 years ago, I talked to 3,000 people. I would hit maybe one or two. And on the island of Oahu, I think I saw everybody who knew that at the Dr. Coleman conference that I went to. And I went up to him and had him sign his book. And he goes, how do you want me to sign it? And I told him my rank in my military. And I said, as a patriot, please sign it, thank you for your service, or something like along that line, because I'm trying hard to wake people up here, and it's really hard because it seems like everybody I ever talked to is in this room right now. And he goes, what do you do in the military? And I told him a little tiny bit, and he looked at me and he just winked and he goes, don't you? I go, yeah, I know how hard this is. And then the whole bunch of people followed me out in the hall after Dr. Coleman left. Can we talk to you? I go, sure. So I was like, yeah, but it was 1 in 3,000 back then. Now I've sat in restaurants and hear people talking. So I do think that 30 to 40% of the human race, at least, and the people walking around, know there is a cabal, and they are doing certain things. They may not believe the depths of the children's stuff and all of that, but they believe there's a very wealthy family that's been making and creating, and groups of families making and creating all the wars, manipulating and forcing us to pay taxes for them to be wealthy and have billions and millions and maybe trillions of dollars.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as we reveal more, we can reveal even deeper things like the adrenochrome and so forth. The adrenochrome would, 20 years ago, 10 years even, people would not have understood it or believed it. And now, like you're saying, 20, 30, maybe even more % of people are completely open to that possibility. And there's more of us that are fully convinced that it does exist. Now, the border, we're seeing the border explode. We're being invaded. We've already been invaded, really. And now we're being overwhelmed at the border like no time ever in history. I think part of that is they're desperate to get their money. Their money source was, children, adrenochrome, and so forth. That's been squeezed from them for a long time, and now they see the opportunity to get it back. What's going to happen with that border? What do you think?
I think what we're seeing is a out of who's who. Kind of like, again, that 16+1 book of the Bible, where you show who's who, you bait your enemy out, and you play it out, and then it's called a reveal. And then when the reveal is done, then you take them out. And the Cabal had that plan to do exactly that for who would stand up and fight. So we're again doing that same situation in reverse, like that book of the Bible again, Esther.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So yeah, lots of things are being revealed all over the country in every aspect. So on closing, what do you see going forward? What's the major thing going forward?
I see the flag officers coming to a resolution and deciding to make a move and do it. And I don't see it's going to be that much more. I don't think we're looking at years, maybe months, and not very many of them. Maybe not even in a more than a couple plurality. So I do see things coming down, and I see them coming down soon. And then Medved's controlled locations, and already we've seen Asara. Like I said, I showed the wrong video, but Trump did go to DC. He did. And he did go to Switzerland too after that. So what is Switzerland? The foundation of wealth on earth for the Cabal. That's why nobody invaded it for the Cabal, Hitler, Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So right. He went there, and you're watching the internet going down, IRS, Federal Reserve, etc. Federal Reserve moved in. You're watching banks not being able to do certain things anymore because their internet's down, can't give you receipts, can't do this, can't, credit card stuff and all kinds of things going on. I would tell people to be ready and be prepared and have the things you need for a couple of weeks, because if they shut the entire internet down for a couple of weeks, you need to have things ready and prepared. And so I already see that internet being shut down in various locations. One, changing over financial instruments. Two, taking out dark web and individuals trafficking on dark web and rescuing individuals that are trafficked on the dark web. And that's all ongoing, and it's really, really obvious. Big companies, even their internet services going down. So there is things going on that have never, ever been seen before, where the IRS, is delaying things. And there's, so if you're going to file taxes, make sure the deadline date is still the deadline date and hasn't been moved out to May. That's in the works possibly now too. So there's a lot of changes and things going on, and it's, coming down, and it's coming down quick. And I don't see it as taking much longer now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. We have to get, off of the dates and stuff like that. Kind of like what we were talking about, as far as
Absolutely.
like the bird, the props are turning, everybody's waiting inside, and they're like, okay, guys, delay another day or delay another week or delay another month. It's frustrating for those guys that are ready to, hit this. And I've been there. You've probably been there many times as well. And
yeah, I've been sitting in the submarine going, when are we going to launch weapons? I'm ready. I've got all of my where all the enemy things plotted are. I've already given you the information. When are we going to launch? I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's frustrating And it's frustrating for the operators that are, out there, the prop, like I said, this props are spinning, or you're like, okay, there's a change of plans. I've been there, done that many, 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 many times. It's a little frustrating, but you just let go with it, and that's what we're talking about as far as consciousness. You have to let go and stay in these upper realms of consciousness.
Right. So again, I just trust it's God's plan.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I have my daily procedure. I get up and give thanks to God and Creator for my day and the things of beauty in my life and the things that God's, and the people in my life that I have, and my gratitude. And then I go through my, workout and nutrition and those things, and, doing the things I need to do, and, going by what I had planned. And if God shows me we're not going by that plan today, okay, I'll change to whatever he puts in front of me. And at the end of the day, again, go thank you. And I do a little bit of a workout and things, and do some supplements and things I need to do. And, and I get out in nature every day, and I look at the beauty of the creation, and I give thanks for it. And so just staying, solid in gratitude and in the beauty of creation and in the things that give me joy is some really good classical music, a few other things, family, etc. And then I have the patience to go however further I need to go.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you've given your, how people can contact you. Is any other way that people can contact you through the other than the email?
Yeah, I'm on Blessed to Teach every week. I'm on there regularly. Also on Backstage, I'm several days a week. And on Sundays, every other Sunday, I'm doing decodes on non-terrestrial type situations every other week on Sunday. And then I'm on there every Monday night doing things like the health protocols that with the health coordinator, which she's beautiful, putting all together fantastic information. So that's there on Blessed to Teach Backstage every week, and I'm there all the time. And then of course I'm on Kirsten W every week too.
Yeah, you guys are you're in high demand, so I thank you very much for coming in. And anyone who wants to connect with me, it's unleashingintuition.com. All right, everyone. Thank you. Much love out there. Stay in that love vibration. Don't get, caught up in, dates and times, stuff like that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in its own. It is happening, but you're going to become more aware of it in the future. So stay focused and don't lose your beautiful love that you have for creation and your source.
Absolutely. Thank you.